New reporting from The Intercept indicates that the Pentagon appears to be the latest government agency working to bail out big businesses. I'm not kidding. This story is insane. So while Silicon Valley Bank was about to collapse last month, the Pentagon was among those demanding that the federal government intervene to protect depositors. Now, I was concerned about how the little guy would be impacted if the federal government didn't step in and make depositors whole. Because Etsy, for instance, had their account with SVB, and they used that account to do payroll for all the different small vendors on their platform. I was concerned about those folks, but that is not what the Pentagon is concerned about. The Pentagon was concerned about tech companies that they might wanna, have contracts with, tech companies that might do some work for the military. They wanted to make sure that those companies were made whole. And as we know, Silicon Valley Bank had a concentrated tech client base. So let's give you some more details. The Pentagon, as The Intercept writes, scrambled to prepare multiple plans to get cash to affected companies if necessary, reporting by Defense One revealed. Their interest in Silicon Valley Bank stems from the Pentagon's brand new office. This is little reported, I didn't know about this until The Intercept reported about it. It's the Office of Strategic Capital. The Secretary of Defense established the OSC in December specifically to counteract the investment power of adversaries like China in US technologies and to secure separate funding for companies whose products are considered vital to national security. Where do you think that they secure the funding from? They secure the funding from us, the United States taxpayer. And to be sure, the Biden administration has already allocated hundreds of millions of dollars to this project. We'll get to that in just a moment, hold. Now, the OSC, again, the Office of Strategic Capital, enjoys special authority to use loans and guarantees not normally available to the Defense Department to attract private investment in technology. Again, the idea is these are tech companies with technology that we might want to use in the military, so we should definitely look out for their financial interests. Now, OSC's website identifies its mission as twofold. First, identifying critical technology areas, and second, funding those investments using investment tools. Quote, these financial tools are new to the department and will be complementary to ongoing technology innovation efforts, end quote, the agency's mission states. Now, the full extent of the OSC's authority has not yet been determined, which is also a little concerning. But as its charter is still being drafted, here's what we know. OSC is so new that it does not yet have its own budget, but President Joe Biden recently requested $115 million in funding. Again, $115 million in funding that will be redistributed from the United States worker and taxpayer to the Pentagon in an effort to bail out and invest in various tech companies that they might have some interest in. Okay, now Democratic Senator Mark Warner, that's really the heart of this story. That is who we need to really hone in on when talking about this case, because he really spearheaded this effort to get the Pentagon what it wanted in terms of the funding and this program overall, okay? Now, keep in mind that he is the chair of the Senate Banking Committee. He's a corporate Democrat, so we already know what corporate Democrats stand for. They stand for the best interests of moneyed interest. And he's completely on board with these Pentagon bailouts and Pentagon investment projects. As SVB was collapsing, by the way, he issued a press release saying that the bank run posed a national security threat, which, listen, it definitely posed a potential economic collapse and more bank runs. But a national security threat, when you hear national security threat, you think about an actual attack on the United States by some foreign enemy. But that is not what happened here. Let me continue. Mark Warner said this: after an unprecedented and reckless run on Silicon Valley Bank, there were very real risks of instability spreading to other institutions and undermining our national security and technology innovation system. Further, he says, when our financial system is under assault, that is a national security issue. But Warner played a role in weakening our financial system by, deregulating it. So you know how we talk about the banking sector, mid-sized banks in particular, getting deregulated in 2018 and how that was a bipartisan effort? Well, Mark Warner was one of the Democrats who voted in favor of that deregulation, okay? He, along with 16 other Democratic senators, joined Republicans to revoke key parts of the Dodd-Frank Act and essentially allow for banks like Silicon Valley Bank to get away with risky investments and poor management. The Intercept asked Warner whether his vote had any impact on the bank's collapse, right? The deregulation. And here's what he said: the question that I have for you, though, he said, is you tell me what regulatory system can get rid of 25 cents on every dollar, he said in reference to the amount of SVB's bank run, where 25% of their deposits were withdrawn in a day. Right, okay, but why were 25% of the deposits withdrawn in a day? Because Silicon Valley Bank had invested much of their assets in long-term government treasuries that had lost value as interest rates increased. And when depositors needed money as they were withdrawing money, Silicon Valley Bank had no choice but to sell those treasuries at a loss. How much was the loss? $1.8 billion. And so if you're a depositor at that bank and you see that there's some mismanagement going on, what do? You want to take your money out of the bank, and that's exactly what happened. But had there been oversight to ensure that Silicon Valley Bank was not mismanaged, I think they'd be in a better position today. Not according to Mark Warner, who doesn't regret deregulating mid-sized banks in 2018. Now, Warner, the only member of Congress to have public ties to SVB, or to have publicly tied SVB to national security, has received some significant campaign contributions from the financial sector, including maxed out donations from Silicon Valley Bank. Since 2012, Warner has received over $21,000 from Silicon Valley Bank Super PAC, and in 2022 was the only senator to receive a campaign donation from the PAC. His net worth has hovered around 200 million, with tens of millions in mutual funds, government bonds, and equity stakes making up huge parts of his portfolio. While the OSC's role is unique, remember that's the government, the Pentagon program, it is predated, I should note, by the Defense Innovation Unit, which is an independent advisory board established in 2015 to facilitate the Pentagon's adoption of commercial technology. Now that unit was restructured, according to The Intercept, after being met with resistance by companies skeptical of the Pentagon. But the other clear objective here is to have the Pentagon act as venture capitalists, essentially. So Pentagon Comptroller Michael McCord referred to OSC as an initiative that the secretary cares a lot about, explaining that it was trying to connect us better with the venture capital world to get their ideas and their capabilities into our system. It's not connecting us to the Silicon Valley Bank, but it is connecting us to that world. I mean, cool if you want to do that, but how about you do that with your money? Why do that with our money? And why do we need yet another government agency, in this case, the State Department, the Pentagon, jumping in and creating a system that allows for bailouts of corporations? I just don't agree with it. I think it's a terrible idea. And we already have the federal government, in my opinion, doing too much when it comes to intervening and playing interference on behalf of corporations and the financial sector. So again, the fact that the Pentagon scrambled to prepare multiple plans to get cash to affected companies if necessary following the collapse of SVB, like that should raise huge red flags for the American people. But the problem is I don't think most Americans know about this story. I know that corporate media is not reporting on it. So do us a favor, share The Intercept's reporting on this, share our video on this. It's really important for Americans to be fully informed on what our government is up to. Because while they fail to serve our best interests as ordinary people, they never hesitate to think about weird ways to provide financial relief and assistance to incredibly successful corporations when they make bad decisions and fail as a result.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.